Motorhead's Phil Campbell, their longest-serving guitarist, died last weekend. On Friday, I take it. And if you're 50 years old, that's the Motorhead guitarist you know. You don't know Fast Eddie, don't know Brian Robo Robinson, you certainly don't know Larry Wells. That's the Motorhead guitarist you know. If you're 50 years old or younger, I don't care how hip your older brothers were, your father, your uncles, older cousins, that's who you know as a Motorhead guitarist is Phil Campbell. You know, March or Die. Aftershock. Sacrifice. And after Lemmy died, formed a band with his sons. There's 23 Motorhead records out there, studio records. A whole lot more than that. That's hiding beneath the picture, the frame. My 100 Motorhead releases. But there's only 5 with Fast Eddie, or the one with Brian Robinson. And, you know, I'm not showing the self-titled Motorhead record or On Parole with Larry Wells. So there's only 7 studio Motorhead records without Phil Campbell. Classic as those 7 are. The other 16 studio records are with Phil. What's my math again? 10. There's 10 Motorhead records with just Phil on guitar, period. Yeah. There's 16 albums with Phil in total. 6 of them with Wurzel, who also died a number of years ago, and Phil as a co-guitarist. But then after when Wurzel left, 10 records just with Phil and Lemmy up front. So for a lot of people under 50 years old, that is, Phil is Motorhead's guitarist. As well they should be. He should be. Hey group, welcome to Action Rock Corner. I'm your host, Richard May. The promise of this video is I'm going to give you my favorite 12 Motorhead songs with Phil Campbell playing on those songs. But before I get to that, just one more point. Is Motorhead Southern rock? It's pretty Southern rock guys who die young left and right. Everyone in Motorhead, except drummers. Okay, Filthy's dead. The classic drummer, Filthy Taylor, he's dead too. You know, the classic 3 died a number of years ago. Lemmy, Filthy Taylor on drums, Fast Eddie. We lost Larry Wallace, the founding guitar player for the On Parole record that wasn't released till, well, later. Wurzel, the second guitarist with Phil at first for 6 records. He died a number of years ago. The only living guitar player that did a Motorhead record, only did one, but it's my favorite. Did I show it specifically? Most days I think this is my favorite Motorhead record, Another Perfect Day. Brian Rapperson, Robo, largely better known for being with Thin Lizzy. He's still alive. Watch your diet. Watch your blood pressure, Brian. Stick with us. Anyone else alive are drummers. Of course, Mickey D is still alive. For most people under the age of 50, Mickey is the drummer you know. So, because Mickey's not as long as Phil, but Mickey, for the last, dozen records or more, he had been in Motorhead. But other than Filthy, all the other drummers are still alive. Lucas Fox, the founding drummer for Motorhead for the On Parole record, he's still at it. He plays with Alan Davey a lot, who's a protege of Lemmy's, and also a former Hawkwind member at Two Stints. Lucas and Alan Davey played on this Pink Fairies record from a year or two ago. Paul Rudolph is the proper Pink Fairies member that makes this legally, more than legally, a Pink Fairies record. But Alan Davey and Lucas Fox plays on a lot of this record, and Lucas helps out with Alan Davey and a lot of other projects. Pete Gill, founding drummer for Saxon. Also played with Oliver Dawson Saxon, which I really like. Pete played on the Cosmotron record, the Birthday Party live record, and the new tracks for the No Remorse collection. He is still alive. One prominent guest drummer on the March or Die record. I told you that, right? March or Die. Here it is. Tommy Aldrich, who drummed for everybody and Motorhead. Yeah, Tommy's still alive despite starting in a southern rock band in America, Black Hawk, Arkansas. Once the business dried up with Black Hawk, Arkansas, he played with everybody, Whitesnake and Nugent, and I didn't look up his CV. But off the top of my head, he played with everybody. And Motorhead. Still alive. So, for Mickey, Lucas, Pete, and Tommy, stay in shape. Watch the blood pressure. Stay with us. Form a drum circle. Yeah, those are the only ones left out of Motorhead. And then, of course, Lemmy is the only singer, only bass player. Of course, he is Motorhead. Once Lemmy died, the band was done. And Phil's only 6 months younger than I am. And I'm old fart. Yeah, the new guy in Motorhead is 6 months younger than me. That's why we champion the new generation. So, and like I was saying, if you're 50 years old, Phil is the only guitar player you know. The only Motorhead guitar player I saw live, well, I think I saw the tandem 3 times of Wurzel and Phil. Saw them in a cramped 500-person sardine can, and that was great fun. Saw them opening for Slayer once or twice, probably twice. missed the most infamous Cleveland gig at the Variety Theater, Saint Lorraine territory, their reviews coming in the morning. But Variety Theater, they were so loud, the plaster was falling down. They were so loud, the neighbor from their living room recorded the show from across the street or across the, not for a bootleg, to play for the police and go, some bitch, this is how loud they were. I recorded this in my living room. This is how loud the bastards were. Infamous Cleveland gig. So, rest in power, Phil Campbell. I promised you my favorite 12 songs, Motorhead songs, with Phil Campbell. In the comments, give me 10 or 12, whatever you got. What's your favorite Phil Campbell era Motorhead songs? And these hold up to most anything Fast Eddie played on, or Robo, or Larry Rawls. Number 12, Dr. Rock. There's the point. Dr. Rock from Okasmatron. The big comeback, we had to wait 3 years, comeback record from Motorhead. Worth the wait. Great record. Dr. Rock is my number 12. And keep it up, Mr. May. Deaf Forever. Also, the lead-off track from Okasmatron. Yes, we are deaf. Especially if I went to that Variety Theater show on Lorraine Avenue. I would have been deaf out of that thing. One of my students told me, I'm old, I had students at the show, told me the static, the silence from the amps before the show was so loud they had to scream over that. Number 10. Not from a proper Motorhead album. It still is one of my favorite tracks, especially with Phil's guitar playing. And it's a cover song. You find here in the Undercover, the compilation record, their version of Heroes by David Bowie. The video is iconic. And Phil's guitar playing, oh my God. Phil Ronson, when he was watching from heaven, not the other place. No, he wouldn't be done. He would be up there. He would approve of Phil's guitar playing on Heroes. Amazing cover, amazing. Yeah, Lemmy forgot a few lyrics. It was supposed to be recorded live with a lot of studio massaging, I take it. But it's brilliant. Regardless of how they get that sound. It's brilliant stuff. Undercover, or as a bonus track on the Bad Magic, the last Motorhead record. Absolutely great stuff. From Phil said in an interview, I saw it online, it has to be true. Now, it was a professional source. Phil said, Bastards is the best Motorhead record he played on. From this record, We Bring the Shake It does. It really brings the shake. Absolutely brilliant song. It would come back to Bastards. You know, Bastards was what Lemmy wanted to call the band. But the squares of the record company, I don't think we can get that in the stores, Lemmy. With that band name. Come up with another one. So, of course, Lemmy took one of his classic songs from Hawkwind and used that for the band name. Yes, Motorhead was a Hawkwind song that Lemmy wrote for Hawkwind. You know Lemmy was in Hawkwind, right? And Hawkwind are class people. You know, nice tribute that Hawkwind did for Phil online when I learned of his death yesterday morning. Number 8. We Are Motorhead, the album. The track God Save the Queen. Okay, is another cover. You know, from the Sex Pistols. But God Save the Queen, great video. That's a fun video. You know I like to have fun with my music. God Save the Queen, the video, with the Queen Elizabeth look-alike, crowd surfing and whatnot. Great stuff. I think we're coming back to this record again too. Keep it nearby. Love that song. We all love this song. Number 7. From the 1916 record, Ramones, or, as it should be done, as the title tells you, R-A-M-O-N-E-S, Ramones. Say it fast. No, I'm trying to stay out of that habit. R-A-M-O-N-E-S, Ramones. We love that song. It gets placed as a bonus track all over the place. We love that song, don't we? Okay. Back to Bastards, Phil's favorite record. Devils, the last track on the Bastards record. This is an odd thing to describe a Motorhead song. An odd word I'm going to use. Beautiful. Devils is a beautiful song, especially at the end. It's beautiful. They didn't play it live, to the best of my knowledge, because you couldn't reproduce that studio version live. You would need a lot of extra people on the stage to reproduce Devils live. Brilliant song. You ever heard Devils in a while? And I'll Bring the Shake. We Bring the Shake, that I mentioned before. You ever heard those songs in a while? They're back to back. Check it out. Great stuff. Well then, keep Bastards in your hand, Mr. May. Born to Raise Hell. That's the track you know this from. You know, Born to Raise Hell. Live staple. In there as often as anything by Fast Eddie. Born to Raise Hell. You know, they always bring out a few guests to sing backup. We love Born to Raise Hell, don't we? Yes, we do. Of course, the debut from Phil Campbell. Was the 4 tracks, the new tracks, and the No Remorse collection. Killed by Death. Great video. Cheap, kitschy. That's how you say it. You know, English video. the one that the English video directors like to do, you know, kind of sexy, cheap, whatever. It wasn't really that cheap, especially if you're crashing Lemmy through a wall. But still, absolutely great number. Killed by Death. Born to Raise Hell, Killed by Death, both of those live set staples. Absolutely great stuff. Number 3. The title track, We Are Motorhead. Ah, that kills. God, that kills. Great record. This is a Cosmotron for my favorite, and Bastards. Between those three, Bastards, We Are Motorhead, and a Cosmotron. Those are my contenders for favorite Phil Campbell era Motorhead. Okay, top 2. I love groove in my music. You tempt me to dance. Tempt, mind you. I'm in. The title track, Overnight Sensation. What groove? Just groove on this number, on this record. Overnight Sensation. Wonderful. And my favorite, Phil Campbell, Motorhead song, Love for Sale. Talk about groove. Great groove on Love for Sale. About buying certain things through the mail, which is why Lemmy sings, I can't believe it's legal. You know, to get it through the mail. That's what it's about. It's not about hookers. It's about devices. As Frank Zappa would say, devices. Love for Sale. That's my favorite Phil Campbell era Motorhead song. Rest in power, Phil. You were younger than I am. It isn't time to go yet. Jeez. We all miss you. And of course, you can find everything by Phil somewhere on YouTube. Go check it out. If you don't have physical of everything, it's on YouTube. Check out everything by Phil. It's all there. It's wonderful stuff. And a lot of this is much better. Yeah. Better than Bomber. Bomber's inconsistent, isn't it? You know, all of Phil's stuff is better than the self-titled Motorhead debut or the later record, the released tape first but released later, you know, On Parole. Inconsistent. Classic in its own right, but kind of inconsistent. You know, you're not playing On Parole constantly. Don't kid me. Or that self-titled Motorhead debut. They're cool. They're great. You know, when you get to Overkill, what am I trying to think of? Ace of Spades. Yeah. Give props to Fast Eddie and Filthy and Lemmy. Yeah. And I love Iron Fist more than others do. And Brian Robinson's Another Perfect Day. It would be my favorite Motorhead. If you like this video, give it a like. Subscribe to Action Rock Corner. Ring the notification bell. In the comments, give me your favorite Phil Campbell Motorhead songs. I'm not restricting you. How many you want to name? Go for it. If YouTube allows you to keep going, keep going. And for latest in action rock, high energy rock, garage, punk, psychobilly, stoner rock, and we all owe Motorhead for a lot of that stuff. And of course, Lemmy, did a lot of rockabilly while he was doing Motorhead. Headcat. Rest in power, Phil. We're going to miss you. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again soon.